For all living things, every second that passes is a step closer to a finish line we never asked for. For as long as humans have been around, we have been obsessed with the idea of living forever. People have tried looking for the fountain of youth, and ancient alchemists have tried to turn lead into gold and find the elixir of life. Back then, it was a fantastical idea. But now, some of the smartest people on Earth are treating aging like a disease that can be cured. Let's be precise. There's a difference between godlike immortality and simply not dying of old age. Since the second is far more plausible, that's what we mean by immortality here. A much longer life, not an eternal one. Scientists call this biological immortality, which means you do not get weaker or sicker as you get older. You could still get hit by a bus or fall off a cliff, but your body would not just stop working because of time. How close are we really to stopping the clock for good? We'll dig into the science of why we break down, the wild tech that might fix us, and the unsettling question nobody wants to ask. What happens to a world where no one ever leaves? To know if we can live forever, we first have to understand why we die in the first place. Back in 1961, a scientist named Leonard Hayflick discovered something that changed everything we knew about biology. He found out that human cells can only divide about 40 to 60 times before they just stop and die. This is now known as the Hayflick limit, and it is basically the expiration date printed on your DNA. The reason this happens is because of something called telomeres, which are, when described visually, like the plastic tips on the ends of your shoelaces. Every time your cells divide, those little tips get shorter and shorter until they are completely gone. When the tips are gone, the shoelace of your DNA starts to unravel, and the cell cannot function anymore. This leads to genomic instability, which is a fancy way of saying your body's instruction manual is getting ripped up. Imagine trying to build a Lego set, but every day someone comes in and loses a few pages of the manual. Eventually, you are just guessing where the pieces go and the whole thing falls apart. That is exactly what happens to your body as you get older, and your cells lose their ability to repair themselves. Then there are zombie cells, senescent cells that should have died but just hang around like trash on the street. They stop doing their job, refuse to make room for new cells, and leak toxic chemicals that damage everything nearby, like one moldy piece of fruit rotting the whole bowl. On top of that, your mitochondria, which are the little power plants in your cells, start to get tired. When they stop working, your body does not have the energy to fix the damage from everyday life. So if we know what the problems are, can we actually fix them? One of the most exciting areas of research right now is something called senolytics. These are special drugs designed to act like a biological cleaning crew to find and kill those zombie cells. Then, we have the world of genetic engineering, specifically a tool called CRISPR. CRISPR allows scientists to go into the DNA and literally cut out bad parts and paste in good ones. Scientists are studying animals like the bowhead whale, which can live over 200 years. Its genes protect it from cancer and repair DNA far faster than ours. If we could use CRISPR to give humans those same genes, we might stretch our lives significantly. But it gets even crazier than fixing genes. There is a man named Shinya Yamanaka who won a Nobel Prize for discovering what we now call Yamanaka factors. He figured out a way to take an old adult cell and turn it back into a brand new baby stem cell. Some researchers are even looking at something called parabiosis, which sounds like the premise in a vampire movie. They found that when you connect the blood system of an old mouse to a young mouse, the old mouse gets younger. And while we're fixing the biology, some think we should just replace our bodies entirely. That's the world of regenerative medicine, where scientists are learning to 3D print organs. Imagine your liver starts failing. Instead of waiting for a donor, a machine just prints you a new one. Because it's grown from your own cells, your body won't reject it like it might a stranger's organ. We've already grown small bladders and skin in labs. Full hearts could be next. But what if you didn't need a body at all? Some futurists believe in mind uploading, scanning your brain's connectome, the vast network of pathways that makes you onto a computer. Map it perfectly, and you could theoretically live forever as digital consciousness. If the original you dies and the digital version lives on, did you actually survive, or did you just get replaced? It is like taking a photo of a painting and then burning the original painting. The image is still there, but the soul of the work might be gone forever. Even if we solve mortality, we still face the biological risks of chasing it. Nature has reasons for death. Evolution is one. Evolution happens because new generations are born with tiny changes that help them survive better than their parents. If nobody ever dies, the human race might stop evolving entirely because there are no new generations to take over. Then there's the chilling link to cancer. Cancer is a cell that's already figured out how to become immortal, growing without limit. Cancer is basically a cell that has found a way to become immortal and never stop growing. When we try to make our healthy cells live forever, we are using the same biological tricks that cancer uses. Beyond the science, we have to think about what this does to society. The most obvious problem is overpopulation because the Earth is only so big. If people stop dying but keep having babies, we'll run out of food and space fast. Governments might have to pass laws saying you can only live forever if you agree to never have children. That would create a very strange world where there are no more kids and everyone is just an adult forever. Then there is the issue of money and jobs in a world without retirement. Right now, our economy is built on the idea that people work for 40 years and then step aside for younger people. If you have a boss who is 400 years old, they might never leave their job. Young people would have no way to move up the ladder, and the same people would control all the wealth forever. We already have a wealth gap, but imagine if a billionaire could keep their money and invest it for 5 centuries. They would eventually own everything on the planet, and nobody else would ever have a chance to get ahead. There is also a theory called Planck's principle, which says that science only moves forward when old scientists die. It means that people rarely change their minds about big ideas once they get older. Progress happens because the people with old ideas eventually pass away and a new generation brings in fresh thoughts. Politically, that's terrifying. Most tyrants were eventually stopped by age or death. An immortal dictator wouldn't be. Nations might even race to make it happen first, the way they raced for nuclear weapons. And since it'd likely be expensive, the question becomes brutal: human right or luxury for the top 1%. We would then have 2 classes of humans, one immortal, one dying at 80, and that is a recipe for revolution. We also have to consider what immortality would do to our minds and our happiness. Part of what makes life feel meaningful is knowing it's finite. We savor a sunset or a good meal because we know we won't have unlimited chances to experience it again. If you had 1 billion years ahead of you, would anything ever feel urgent? You could spend 50 years on the couch watching TV and it wouldn't matter in the slightest. Life could dissolve into a long blur where nothing feels important because nothing is scarce. Some psychologists question whether the human brain can even hold 1,000 years of memories intact. Your childhood might feel like it happened to a stranger. You might lose your sense of self because you have changed so many times over the centuries. Even with all these challenges, the push for longer life isn't going to stop. Average lifespan has climbed every decade thanks to better medicine and nutrition. Total immortality may still be far off, but radical life extension is close to inevitable. We're heading toward a future where living to 120 is common and 150 is possible. The real question isn't whether we can do this. It's whether we should and how we handle what comes after. Stopping aging would be the biggest event in human history. It would reshape how we love, how we work, and how we see our place in the universe. We might even need to become a multiplanetary species just to make room for a population that never dies. Maybe the stars are the only place big enough. It's a beautiful, terrifying thought. We're standing at the edge of an era where death might become optional. Whether that makes us more human or less is something we'll have to decide together. But for now, the clock is still ticking for all of us, so we should probably make the most of it. The science is moving fast, and the breakthroughs are happening in labs all over the world right now. It might start with a pill you take in your 30s to slow down the damage to your cells. Then it might be a yearly injection to clear out those zombie cells we talked about earlier. Eventually, it might be a full genetic upgrade before you are even born to ensure you live for centuries. We're trying to hack the most complex machine in existence, the human body. It's a monumental task, but humans have a habit of doing the impossible. Still, as we chase this dream, we have to ask the hard questions. If we fix the body but break the world, forever could turn out to be a very long time to be miserable. Science tells us this is biologically possible. There's no law of physics demanding we age and die on schedule. Aging is just a program written into our cells, and programs can be rewritten. But the journey to immortality isn't only scientific, it's personal and global. From how we raise our families to how we protect our environment, everything will have to change. We are the first generation to even have this conversation as a realistic possibility. That makes us the pioneers of a new way of living that our ancestors could only dream of. We're the first generation to face this as a real possibility, which makes us pioneers. Whether that leads to a golden age or a dark age is up to us. And we need to build the rules before the technology arrives. Because once it's here, there's no putting it back. Living forever might be our greatest achievement or our biggest mistake. Either way, we're moving toward it fast. The fountain of youth isn't a myth anymore. It's being built piece by piece in labs and computer simulations. We just have to decide if we're ready to drink from it. For now, we can only watch the progress and prepare for the day it will happen. While waiting, let's continue to wonder and ask why on YouTube.